Hi friends, so I hope you checked out the recent video I did. I was just reading out a blog post by David Locke, and it's a very powerful one. A friend of mine listened to it and she started crying because you can actually see how bad it is just by this blog post. David Locke, he's basically a professor at Massachusetts Arts College. He was just going out to get some lunch, and then some police started circling him and said he fit the description of somebody who had broken into this white woman's house, and it went on from there. And you could see how they had decided that he was the person who fit the description, even though he was wearing a very definite sort of little knitted cap that a friend of his had knitted for him. It was brown and lime and pink, and it was a special knitted cap. So, you know, he fit the description apparently right down to the knitted cap, and he said, I don't know how I could possibly have fit that description, because this is a cap that was made for me by a friend, and it's very unusual. But, you know, basically you can see very clearly, and there's many examples of that, just because he was a black man in the area, that, you know, and around that size of that person, that he's suspect. So basically, you're suspect if you're a black man. So, and that's about the size of it, really. And he felt like if he got into that car, if he got into the cop car with them and the woman was going to, you know, sort of identify him, he thought that his life was going to be over, because, you know, he thought it was just all downhill from there. And so he was literally thinking that he was going to die because he was going to resist arrest. And we all know what happens even when you don't resist arrest, when you're just basically breathing as a black person in the United States. That is cause for them to shoot you and kill you. So he was feeling like he wasn't going to get into the car, and he was going to, I don't know what he was going to do, make a run for it or something, and he knew that he was going to be killed. But he thought if he got into the car and had to go through all of that, that it was going to end up badly for him anyway. So that's a real fear a lot of black people have, of basically that the police, the militarized police, are an occupying force, basically. I mean, that's what they are. It reminds me to some extent of what happens with Palestinians and how the Israeli occupation forces treat Palestinians. Of course, it's not as bad as that. I mean, Palestinians, they just shoot Palestinians because there is no, like, they literally snipe them when they're non-violently protesting and kill them. They kill paramedics, they kill paraplegics, they kill children. They don't care. They make jokes about killing children, you know, and they're so brazen as to even make jokes about it on Twitter and putting crosshairs over the children they have in their scopes, that sort of thing. They're brazen enough to brag about that no bullet is not something that they haven't planned to hit whatever person. It's not an accident. It's much, much worse than apartheid, what's happening to Palestinians by the Israeli occupational forces there. And so they have to deal with that every single day. They basically got a target on their head every time they go out. This is Palestinians. And I would imagine that I remember reading quite a few years ago, somebody, this black person was writing some blog, and they said when anybody suggests calling the police, they just find that kind of funny and ridiculous, because you don't call the police no matter what's happening. And that's something you often hear black people say, is if there is a problem, you know, and it's involving a black person, do not call the police. So that just indicates what an enemy of the people the police are, enemy of black people, the militarized police, the police are. And I hope you will check out the Black Agenda report. I'm sorry that I wish I had the ability to interview people, but our internet connection here rurally has our ability to, our upload speeds and download speeds are so sad that they're so sort of poor that I wouldn't be able to hold a connection in a live interview with anybody. I'm hoping that I'm going to see if I can have a go at interviewing someone in America, not live, but see if I can do that without it breaking down, without the connection breaking down, because I would much prefer to interview, say, Margaret Kimberley or Jama Baraka or somebody, or Danny Haifong, somebody from the Black Agenda Report about this, because, like, I'm a white person and I live in another country, and I get my information from the Black Agenda Report and great left perspective sites like them. But, you know, I would much prefer to actually interview someone and have a black person talk about this issue. So it's really, really unfortunate that my connection, that's why I stopped doing live interviews. You'll see a number of live interviews I did about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and then it sort of suddenly stopped, and that's because I have such a poor connection here. The connection has gone downhill. They have probably too many subscribers. National Broadband Network, they have too many, and they just put too many subscribers, and it reduces the abilities, the upload speeds. It's ridiculous. I remember when I was visiting Long Island, you know, in the late 90s, and I remember I visited someone, and their speeds were so incredible. They could download a 10 megabyte song in sort of like, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds. And here I am, I have to sit for ages waiting for, you know, slowly uploading things, or, you know, we even have trouble sometimes getting phone calls here. It's in a bit of a black spot on top of everything. So anyway, I'm whinging now, but that's why I end up talking about things that I would rather interview the people who are most knowledgeable about it and actually are not white. That would sort of be my preference. So that's why I end up talking about it myself, because I can't do that. So anyway, I hope to try this out. I hope to try out an interview with someone in the next couple of weeks and see if it's successful. And if it is, then I might be able to do, if I can actually contact people. People are very busy, and that's also the other problem. Actually being able to, I noticed it was very difficult to contact people who are very busy, and so that's the other problem. But, you know, if I'm lucky, I might be able to do the occasional interview, and I look forward to that. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how the signal strength and how it goes. What I was basically saying is that blog post by David Locke sort of really demonstrates how basically all that matters for you to be a suspect or a target is for you to be black. Doesn't matter what you do, where you come from, where you live. Just the fact that you're black, that's all that is needed by the police force. And as I said, you know, all you need to be somebody of interest or a suspect or a target of violence is to be black. And imagine going out every day and wondering if you're going to end up being targeted. Imagine going out every day and having to worry about just basically being, every time you see a cop car, your heart stops because you think this could be the day that you die. And it's not an exaggeration, it's not hyperbole to say that. Because there is no justice. There is no justice. You just have to see the way, well, David Locke was treated. The fact that they wouldn't even call his office to ask if he was there. The way he probably wouldn't have been able to get any lawyer to intervene before he got taken away, and all that kind of thing. They're like a law unto themselves, the police in the United States. And it's like, it's not about serving the public, it's about themselves. And, you know, they get people that aren't, apparently, I've been told, they get people that aren't so bright, and they like people that aren't so bright because they follow orders, and sometimes, and they can either be people who have been bullied at school or that are bullies. And that's just, you shouldn't have people like that, and ex-military people. You shouldn't have people like that having so much power. They shouldn't even be interfacing with the public at all, people like that, really. I mean, of course, people that are bullied, there's lots of people that have been bullied, but if that goes sideways and they think the way to make themselves feel better is then to bully people, well, then they shouldn't be interfacing with the public at all in any way. I'm not just talking about in something where they're carrying around guns and tear gas canisters and all of that. I'm just talking about anything where you're interfacing with the public. This has to change. This is it's a little snapshot of what, a little bit like what Palestinians go through. And that's why the Black Lives Matter movement have connected with Palestinians, because there is a similarity in the way black people are treated and the way Palestinians are treated. Of course, it's much, much worse. Palestinians are treated much worse than that. But there are similarities, and so it's no wonder that they have connected with Palestinians. Anyway, as I've mentioned, since I can't interview anybody because of the poor internet connections here rurally at the present time, I invite you to subscribe to the blackagendareport.com, and they have wonderful blog posts every day, and they really are so prescient and really the finger on the pulse of the whole matter, as one would expect. Such amazing writers, and so please check that out, as I've mentioned many, many times before. There's somebody else that you should think about looking at too, is Danny Dumbrell, Dumbrill, Daniel Dumbrell. He's got a channel on YouTube, and he lives in Shenzhen, China, and he has a family there. His wife is Chinese and his children are Chinese, and they live there. So he's got some really interesting insights. He seems like a really nice guy, and he's got some really interesting insights about how people in his area view what's going on, the anti-Chinese propaganda, the Cold War approaching, and all that kind of thing. And so I invite you to check that out. And he might be doing an interview with Danny Haiphong. He mentioned that I put him in contact with Danny Haiphong. I've just mentioned the Left Lens with Danny Haiphong. Danny Haiphong writes for the Black Agenda Report, and he has managed to chase him up, and I think in future they might be doing some interview together, which I think you'll find very interesting. He's a very informative man. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to say. Check out that the video I did just reading out that blog post by David Locke. I think it gives a really great insight into how it is for black people every single day of their life, and it's just totally unacceptable, and it must change. It must change, because it's basically terrorizing a particular minority group in the United States, and it's been like that since the inception of that country, and it's intentionally so. It's not an accident. Been intentionally like that the whole way through. And check out the documentary called 13th on Netflix. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's really great, and it goes beyond the whole thing about mass incarceration. It's a real eye-opener. From what I've been told, I haven't seen it myself. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. My name's Trish Roberts. You're watching Faint Signals from Vega. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notifications bell, and till next time, bye for now.